thank you everybody for coming. This means a lot to me. Been working on this for quite some time now, and it really feels like my life's culmination. And this will be the first presentation in a series of presentations that I'll be doing, where I'll be going over the framework of reality using the structures found in energy. So we'll be breaking down energy and how energy flows to better understand our life and flow of life. So this is create the life you want to live.
Just what I need.
All right, just to get started, let's talk a little bit about the difference between nature and modern society. In the wild, animals are free to roam about and adhere to their natural tendencies of survival and reproduction. Only when animals are in cages or zoos do they express abnormal behaviors like sadness, depression, or loss of energy. Now, what differentiates us from animals? Well, it's our creative abilities. Look at the modern society we've created. Look at this beautiful church that was rehabbed, and it all started from a church and was built into something beautiful. And so this raises the question, why is mental health on such a decline? Well, what's the cause of the deterioration of our happiness from when we were kids? Well, we live in a consumer-based society which keeps us consuming and not creating. And not creating simply goes against our biology. For us, not creating is the equivalent to us being animals trapped in cages. But the cage is not a physical cage, it is a mental cage. So before we get on with the meat, I'd like to just leave you off with this simple little line. Take control of your life. Don't let society control it for you. All right, so do you want to create the life you want to live? Do you want to be happier and more energized, or be able to do what you want when you want? Step one, ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to live? How do I want to feel? Who do I want to be? And get a clear image of what it is you want and what it looks like. Step two, acknowledge where you're at, how you feel, but most importantly, be honest with yourself. Step three, ask yourself, what do I need to change or learn to accept in order to either live the way I want to live, feel the way I want to feel, or be who I want to be. Step four, use your emotions for direction. They will lead you to making decisions that align you with what you want to become. And step five, have fun. And know that with persistence, determination, and sheer willpower, what it is you want, you already have. Maybe not in this moment, but it will eventually come. So let's build some trust in knowing that everything will work out, and why. Let's get into the nature of reality. So, let's start off with everything's energy. Reality is the physical representation of energy. We experience this energy with our emotions, which causes what we say and do. It drives experience. It's why you're all here today, because you felt something inside and it brought up a curiosity. And when an opportunity came up for you to pursue that curiosity, you took it. And that's why you're all here today. But emotion is simply energy in motion. It's said in the name, emotion. Like, you know this guy, Albert Einstein, E equals mc squared, energy equals something something. E equals emotion. Well, or E equals energy. And I guess this is a famous quote by him. He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics. Albert Einstein. So before we get into things, let's get some vocabulary down. Let's start off with consciousness. Consciousness is self-aware light and sound, or in other words, the observation of objects and experiences from our point of view as conscious beings. Electromagnetism. Electromagnetism is how consciousness expresses itself as energy. Everything represents as either an electric or magnetic property. You have the electric male and the magnetic female. You have that expansive, creative energy of that women possess, and you have that productive, get things done energy, that negative energy, that very logical, practical energy from men, the masculine and the feminine. So the torus field is an electromagnetic energy field, and each field has both a magnetic and electric pole, creating almost like a donut-shaped unit of energy, more commonly known as an atom. Atoms come together to form all things. We all learned about that in grade school. Yeah, it's very common knowledge. So a dimension is just a lens of perceiving reality. It's not a different place. So we can break down companies multidimensionally. We can break down people multidimensionally because things aren't always surface level. They're very deep in depth. And multidimensional, it's just layered lenses of perceiving reality as a whole, where each lens builds off of the next. Any elaboration? No? Let's talk about physical matter. So the physical reality in which we can perceive, this room, us, the projector. So this reality that we perceive with our senses is made up of materialized consciousness. The thoughts, dreams, and ideas we entertain in our minds, however, are made up of unmaterialized consciousness. The only thing that differentiates unmaterialized and materialized consciousness is the action of physically creating whatever it is that you want to materialize. This entails that physical reality is non-physical in nature. Before society existed, it was an idea, it was a dream. And this leads us to understanding that our worlds are an external projection of our internal minds. The lives we live. Everyone has different personalities, different likes, dislikes, and it all shapes our different lives. That's the beauty of humanity. It's true self-expression. But as I was saying, our external worlds are a projection from our internal minds. And this is because the physical expression is energy. And we can break down this process using torus field. So let's talk a little bit about electromagnetism and the torus field. So the electromagnetic torus field is the geometric structure of consciousness, which is better known as atoms. Everything is an expression of conscious electromagnetic energy taking the form of the objects and experiences we can perceive with our senses. Electromagnetic energy creates and holds the patterns found in every part of the natural world, from the Milky Way galaxy to our cells. And as you can see here, this is just an image of the torus field. Very simple image where you can see the negative and the positive poles. But if you look over here at the tree, you see it kind of mimics the same shape as the torus field. And even looking up here at the apple, you can see how the apple, before it was an apple, started off as energy, and the patterns of the energy came together to form the apple. Do I need to elaborate on anything? Good. So let's get a little into our electromagnetic biology. Our brains that do the driving of our physical bodies run off electrical circuits called neurons. Our heart is a muscle that pumps blood throughout the body, which is magnetic due to the iron consistencies in the blood. With our minds and our hearts, we are literally designed like a torus field. Our electric side and our magnetic side. So that means we possess the same creative abilities as the energy that created life itself. And then, as you can see here, there's a little graphic of how the energy flows through our body. And this is representing the field of energy that we all possess. So if we're creating our realities, then what's the difference between me and who I want to be? So let's talk in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So everything you see is energy vibrating at different frequencies. Now what do I mean by that? Energy, or consciousness, matter, are all interchangeable. Think, you and your surroundings are all this created from that same energy. And your frequency is your mindset, your awareness, your belief systems, and where you're putting your attention. So where you put your attention, what kind of mindset you have, will thus turn into the actions that you take. And your vibration is the physical outcome of your frequency, the action that you're taking. And this can be either external or internal. You can create anything from good experiences to pleasant emotions. So everything in your life is simply a result of your mental state. So through this understanding, we can go from trauma or limiting beliefs to feeling free without burden. Or we can go from financial troubles to financial freedom, all simply with a change in frequency. These are your vibrations, and to change them all requires a change in frequency or a mindset shift. So, as I said earlier, we can break down this creative process using the torus field. So I want you to look right here at this little black dot in the center. Think of that as the unit of consciousness, or you. It's the energy, the unmaterialized consciousness. It's things going on inside your head. Think of this entire torus field as your reality. So you have your internal reality and your external reality. So you have your energy, then you also have your frequency. So that would be seen through the flow of energy coming from the torus out, and that's your mindset, frequency. It's the actions you're taking. And right here, this is where you see it's the results of your actions. Or think in terms of the materialized consciousness. The things that once started as a dream and now they're tangible reality, part of tangible reality. So I like to use like an artist metaphor of like a sculptor. So say the sculptor is trying to sculpt like a simple thing, like a mug. The mug starts in here, inside the brain, as a visual image. And the artist, the sculptor, will begin to take action in creating the mug. And boom. Then the mug is then created. And the energy going back into the torus stands as the observation, observing what it is that you created. And this process doesn't stop. This is happening every moment of every day. Any questions? So let's dive a little deeper. Since the torus field is a geometric structure, we can break it down multidimensionally. So we're going to start with breaking it down multidimensionally in geometric terms. Then we're going to simplify the dimensions into something that's a little easier to comprehend. And then we are going to take the simplified form of the dimensions, and we are going to draw parallels and make connections to our own biology. All right, so let's talk about the multidimensional breakdown of the creative process. As I said, since it is a geometric structure, we can break it down multidimensionally. So we're going to break it down into 7 dimensions, and which can also be seen through the light spectrum. Roy G. Biv. Yeah. So dimensions 1, 2, and 3 come together to form objects. Dimension 4 is time, which is objects in motion. It's simply just movement. And dimension 5 is the structure of all moments in time. And it's the understanding that the past, present, and future are all happening simultaneously in the present moment. This structure also includes every possible past, present, and future moment. So what you are, what you could be, what you could have been. It's all happening simultaneously. Let's get into dimension 6 and 7. Dimension 6 encompasses the idea that all moments in time and all possibilities of those moments are manifested in the physical. So what do I mean by that? Say you want to start a business. Well, on a certain frequency, that business is thriving. It's allowing you financial abundance, freedom to do what you want when you want, and so on and so forth. But let's move on to the 7th dimension. So the 7th dimension is the resulting creation from the previous steps of creation. The creation of the identity. Or in other words, what has become from the becoming. So as you can see with the apple, it started off as energy and then kind of came together and then formed the identity of the apple. And we have a few different kinds of apples. You have Granny Smith, Honeycrisp. I'm a Honeycrisp fan myself, but that's besides the point. Yeah. Any questions? Good. All right, so let's break down this multidimensional process using the torus field. So we always start here, the unit of consciousness. So that's dimension 1. And then shapes, dimension 2. So you can see the line. So that unit of consciousness, that black dot, is like almost like looking at the line from like a top-down kind of view. And then you have the formation of shape, which in terms of the torus field would be that of a circle. And objects, the formation of objects in the third dimension, which is represented by the entire torus field. So you have the unit of consciousness, the circular shape of the torus field, and then the entire torus field itself. And then time can be perceived as the movement of energy through the torus field. This is the objects in motion. And the fifth dimension is the understanding that time is the flow of energy. Well, the fifth dimension is the understanding that it goes back into that unit of consciousness. It all returns. So it's the idea that since it's happening in that unit of consciousness, it's happening in the present moment. This is where we get the idea of the present moment from. So the sixth dimension refers to all possible moments in time which are manifested in the physical. And as I mentioned prior, this is kind of that physical plane where things manifest, where our creations come to life. And this is the flow of energy. So these are two counter-rotating fields. Both of the fields, both of the energies flowing into that is shown by the sixth dimension. And now the seventh dimension is the understanding the identity, and that is seen by the energy flowing back into the unit of consciousness. So let's simplify these dimensions. Take it away from the torus field and just use geometric principles, dimension principles. So we have our first dimensional, electricity, magnetism. Our second dimension, you have our shapes. Our third dimension, you have objects, or the formation of objects. And then the fourth dimension, you have time. And this simplification into forces is somewhat shaped like a torus field itself. So I want to move forward and explain how this is seen as the expansion of the torus field. So as we can see from dimensions 1 through 4, we have the entire torus field being created, plus the flow of energy through the torus field. So this expansion, it is the torus field. It's kind of like, think of like the Big Bang almost. When the Big Bang happened, you had the formation of electricity, magnetism, shape, form, and time. But that's just a geometrical understanding. But let's move on to the contraction, which we can see starting in the fifth dimension through the idea that, the understanding that the energy flows back into that unit of consciousness. That's the contraction. So it flows out of the unit of consciousness and then back in. The expansion and the contraction.
So in the concept of the mug, like it starts in an energetic conception of the thing called mug, the container mug, and then it goes into the action of being made, the making, the action, the making, and then it exists, and it has shape. And then all the possibilities of all the containers that have been will be, but then how does it come back into itself?
Through the observation of it.
So the witnessing of the object is what is the second half.
Correct.
The knowledge of the object and the observation of the object. Okay.
So it's like when you visualize something, it's like you can visualize it, you can get a clear picture of it. But it's something you conjure in your head. And it's not like you can really truly experience it So really truly experiencing it is the energy flowing back in. And yeah, he's got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's move on to the contraction. So in the fifth dimension, is the understanding that the collapse of time, we have the collapse of time into the present moment. And in the sixth dimension, we have the collapse of physical form into the unit of consciousness, which is seen just by the... And in the seventh dimension, we see the collapse of shapes into the unit of consciousness. Now, this may have been a little far-fetched, confusing. However, once we draw parallels to our own biology, it's going to start to come together and it will make a lot more sense. Let's draw some parallels. Let's talk about our multidimensional biology. Before I go on and talk about our levels of mind that correlate to each dimension, I want to make it clear that each level of mind has superiority over the lower and inferiority to the higher level of mind. So, that being the case, your first dimensional level of mind, your subconscious mind. So this is all your patterns and emotions, thoughts, your behaviors, your actions. So think of it as like, say you have a 9-to-5 job, and you wake up, go to work, come home, watch TV, eat, go to sleep. You repeat that cycle every day. You're not going to be, emotions are gonna dwindle. You're feeling a lack of emotion, maybe like a numbness. That when we're going off our patterns, we can't really go off of our emotions. So that gets us to our second dimensional instinctual minds, which is our emotions, which all range from a base emotion of love, which I will cover more in my next presentation. So when you're emotional, you're not going off of a set pattern of, okay, I do this, and then this, or, yeah. But when you're emotional, you're not exactly rational. You can't really think clearly. So that gets us to our reasoning mind, our third dimensional level of mind, and this is understood through our thinking, our thoughts. And our thoughts are derived from the labels, language, the brain uses to make reason of the external world. So when you're being reasonable, you can control your emotions. You can say, okay, let me not get angry right now, or let me not be too sad. And you can kind of talk yourself out of things. However, when you're being reasonable, when you're being rational, you're not really in the creative headspace. You're not like, oh, I want to create this, I want to create that. You're more saying, okay, you're being logical, reasonable, not creative. So you're not being emotional. That gets us to our fourth dimensional level of mind, our creative mind. And this encompasses our imagination. So this is our ability to access time and create unmaterialized consciousness, an idea. So our creative minds, our imagination, is kind of the start of the start of our lives, really, our external lives. It's the idea. It's the idea of wanting to do something, wanting to do this or that. It's that I want to do that, yeah. And conjuring up as an image in your mind. So when you're being creative, you can say, okay, well, say you want to build a house. You have an idea of building a house, and then you're like, what do I need to do in order to gather materials, the funds. You start rationalizing it, breaking it down more and more. Then your emotions come in saying, okay, yeah, I really want to build this house. I'm going to put my emotion into creating new patterns so I can make this house a reality and not just an idea. So that gets us to the fifth dimension, the creating mind. So this is taking the understanding of the fifth dimension and applying it to our three-dimensional lives. So it's like being a movie character almost. And I was just using the house example. The house is already built. You're just building it. You're in the building stage. You're in the creating stage. And this is the idea plus the action. So as this is taking the idea, all the rationalization that you put into it, all the emotions that you have going, and the patterns you've set in motion to build the house. So say you're waking up early in the morning, laying the foundation, laying the flooring, walls, blah blah blah. That's the creating mind. It's taking the idea and acting on it. So our sixth dimensional level of mind is our created mind. And this is using the concept of the sixth dimension, that all things are manifested, and applying it to our three-dimensional reality. So it's taking the idea, acting on the idea, and now in the sixth dimension, the created mind, you have the resulting idea, the resulting creation. So you had an idea to build the house, you started building the house, and now the house is completed. And that gets us to our seventh dimensional level of mind, our creator mind. So this is who you've become, or the sense of self gained through the action taken to get the result. Building a house isn't easy. There's lots of permits you gotta worry about. You have to worry about funding, all sorts of things, weather, whatnot. Hiccups that come up along the way. But after going through all those challenges, you've become a completely new person. You've grown. You've had to take on those hard emotions and push through them. And yes, you've become a different person. You've become the creator of something. And by saying you're the creator of something, says you've put in the work and you've learned from your mistakes, and you're now better than you were before. So we can map this out using the forces. So as we can see right here in the expansion, we have your internal world, everything going up to your creative mind. So you have your subconscious mind, or your negative habits and your positive habits. Then you have your instinctual mind, the positive emotions of love that you're feeling, or the negative emotions of love that you're thinking. Think love and hate. And then your reasoning mind is the meaning you're putting onto things. Is it a positive meaning, or is it a negative meaning? And then you have your creative mind, what you're imagining, which will, in the fifth dimension, turn into action. What kind of actions are you thinking of doing? What kind of projects are you looking to take on?
Is that more like the planning?
Yeah, I think, and this is also
The imagined action or something, planning what you have to do?
Mhm.
Okay.
And also think of it as how you're going about life. Do you have negative habits, positive habits? Do you feel positive emotions, negative emotions? Are you being optimistic or are you being pessimistic? And what kind of things do you like and dislike? What are you trying to create out of life? So this isn't only a creating framework, it's also a framework of reality, of life, of how we go about things, the perspective we take, and that will further create whatever emotion that we want to create, whatever meaning we want to create, and overall, what kind of life do we want to create for ourselves. So let's go into actually creating that life. So now the contraction, this will be seen as your external world. So as I said, with the creating mind, it's doing the work on a project, or saying, hey, I want to feel positive emotions of love, I want to be optimistic, I want to create something more with life. This is saying, okay, I want to create something more, I want to be something, and it's acting on it. It's saying, okay, I want to be something, let's do it. And we can see that by the collapse of the imagination, whatever we're imagining, the ideas that we have, into the external world, or the unit of consciousness. In the sixth dimension, you see the collapse of physical reality. So this is the completed project, or you've become who you've wanted to become. And see the collapse of physical reality. And then you have the creator mind, which is the collapse of emotions into physical reality, or the growth that you've acquired from becoming something more than what you were. So let's give a brief summary. The multidimensionality of electromagnetism shows us how reality is created and how we share these same creative powers. How we direct our thoughts, beliefs, and emotions reflect our realities and the experiences that come with. For example, let's give an emotional example. Say you've experienced some type of trauma that left a huge emotional burden that affected your ability to socialize. If you keep striving to improve your social skills and put your trauma behind you, then you'll get over it. But if you ruminate on your trauma and blame your inability to socialize on it, then you'll never improve. That was something that I had to learn personally. Or perhaps a belief-based example. You have dreams of being rich and wealthy, but say you grow up in a family that works labor-intensive 9-to-5 jobs, and your family has passed on their beliefs onto you and told you that you'd have to follow in their footsteps because that's what they did, or maybe not directly like that, or maybe they just say, get a job and save your money, something like that. So whether you believe that or not will determine if you become rich or repeat the same patterns your family ingrained into you. So whether you want to create inner peace, financial abundance, or become the person you've always wanted to become, you must create it using your imagination. So if you're trying to create anything, get clear on what you want, and then listen to your heart and trust yourself that through persistence and determination, anything is possible. So I want to return to the idea of caged animals or free creative beings. Because we are creative beings. Society really tries to fitting us into boxes. And just as long as we can recognize the box that we're in, and maybe say to yourself, maybe I don't want to be in this box anymore. Maybe I want to be in a different box or something. That's where you find your
The
freedom.
boxless box.
The boxless box.
Right.
It's all an illusion. So let's talk a little bit about time. It's just the present moment. The creative process does not stop. What we do in the present moment dictates what our future holds. The fifth dimension gives us the understanding that there's infinite amount of timelines, which means we can be who we want to be, do what we want to do. We just need to turn a vision into action, and that vision will soon be a reality. Let's talk about the subconscious and the unconscious. So our subconscious patterns equate to our physical realities. Our subconscious patterns, it's like what we're doing every moment of the day. So are we do we have negative patterns? Say we want to be more fit, but we like eating a lot. So maybe change the diet around, or say you have poor finances. Maybe just ask yourself, what do I like? What do I like doing? Can I profit off of it? Is there some sort of creative outlet that I can use to funnel my passion into that I can maybe make some money out of? Our utilization of the present moment is what matters most. Patterns we set in motion today dictate how we function in the future. So, going through life unconsciously versus consciously. Our habitual patterns, our daily routine, our sleeping habits, our eating habits, our social habits. Do we hang out with people too much and have completely lost a sense of self? And maybe we're trying to find that sense of self, but constantly hanging out with people is really become more of a detriment to our sense of self than it is promoting it. So the programs and patterns we've developed from childhood and or our environments all play a part in our patterns. What we do through the present moment. Our sleeping habits, eating habits, social habits, daily routine. It's that nature versus nurture argument of So to create the life you want to live, you must become conscious of your unconscious, subconscious patterns and change them if need be. So say we want to get into a relationship, or we want to figure out why a certain interpersonal relation always ends up failing or falling through. So sometimes the pattern, the programs that we're programmed from childhood or even our current environments is having an effect on the things that we want. And I really want to go more in depth into this, but I'm going to save it for our next presentation, and I'll be going into all about subconscious patterns. I'll move on. I'll explain that later. Let's talk about emotion, or energy and motion. So our emotions steer us through our lives, but if we learn to flow with them and know that everything's happening simultaneously, so it's all a matter of life unfolding into the life you want to create, or whatever it is you want to create. Maybe you want to So even if we don't know where we're going, there's always everything you need in your present world to follow in the direction of emotion. So be honest with yourself on how you feel. Sometimes our social, geographical, professional, and or interpersonal environments don't make us feel good about ourselves, or they stop us from truly achieving what we want to achieve. So if something feels off, then be honest with yourself and change or look to work with it, whether that be bad relationships, bad jobs, bad feelings. If something feels off, or you don't feel like you're the protagonist, change it. Or learn to work with it. So you can't be a protagonist. The general purpose for creating this presentation is I hope to turn your attention to your inner world and have you ask yourself, what can I do to create happiness and fulfillment in my life? You were made to create, so go and create what it is you want to create. Like if you want to be something, if you want to accomplish anything or get more money, feel good, get in that relationship that you want, boom, create it. Unfortunately, we live in a society that pulls your attention away from yourself and towards consumption, so find the balance. You're always undergoing this creative process. The only thing you need to do is change your awareness of it. You can create anything from happier emotions to financial abundance to inventing the next gadget to help the world. The possibilities are endless. And it is simply our utilization of the present moment that matters most. So my next presentation that I'll be doing is all about emotion and how this energy and motion presents itself in our life. So I'll be talking about vibration, which is emotion. So emotions as vibrations. I'll be talking about human interactions as energetic exchanges. I'll be talking about resonance, synchronicity. I'll be talking about subconscious patterns, how they begin, how they're repeated, and how to break the cycle. I'll also be getting into time, talking about the wave, time as resonance, time and the mind, so the inner and outer mind, and the speed of time in relation to your level of vibration. So I'll also be talking about how we assign meaning to life. So I'll be going into the illusion of good and bad events, thoughts versus emotion, because a lot of reasons. The power of optimism and perception, along with how we subconsciously choose our experiences in life. And that's all the way from birth to death. I'll also be talking about meditation and spirituality, the many uses for meditation, transcending the need for meditation, and the fact that spirituality is a tool. And with that, I thank you. Does anyone have any questions? All right.
There's so many questions.
Then we just have to wait till the next time.
Should really come to the next presentation because you may not even know the questions that you have, but they'll all be answered in the next presentation, whether you know it now or not.
How did you come to me? Are you guys friends? I was like,
I just met him, yeah.
I met him at
oh,
you do
cool.
jiu-jitsu together.
Cool. Just take a minute to introduce
There's
you to the room,
pretzels
just because
and
I think it'd be
wine.
nice to know.